Shalom and good day. This is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review. And for this indie comic review, I'll be covering Mark Millar's Big Game, issue 5 of 5, Something Epic, issue 7, and the Street Fighter Evolution special. I'll now get things organized for the first one that I'll be covering in the review. So for the first one I'll be covering, it's Big Game, issue 5 of 5. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it an 8 out of 10. I'll now show you some of the internal art, as well as some of the things that are happening in relation to a number of the characters within the story, around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and then I'll move into the art rating, then followed up by the rating of the area of the story. So, picking up where we last left off from, we do get a bit of an invasion by King Morax from the past, moving into, I guess, the future. And we get to see him taking over the world. As we start to move towards the middle of the story, we end up catching up with the character of Kick-Ass. The original Kick-Ass, not the imposter one that's out there right now. And last but not least, towards the end. So, for the internal art, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. So, one of the first things that we get time-wise is that we get something addressing the 72 hours earlier, so basically 3 days before the events. The locations is the next thing being covered in the story, to which we have many locations actually being visited. We had Singapore, we had Moscow, we had New York, we had Arizona. We also had the North Pole, Philadelphia, Silencia, Central Park in North Korea, and Adistra, which I think is a planet in this, or it might be a certain district. It wasn't very clear, but overall, the cast of characters consisting of King Morax, we had Bobby Griffin, we had Hit Girl, the Ambassadors, we had Nightclub, Nemesis, Kick-Ass, and last but not least, the Chrononauts. For the overall rating in this, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now it's time to move into Something Epic. So as we start to begin the last issue of Something Epic, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it an 8 out of 10. I'll now move into the internal art around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and also what's happening with the main character of Danny in the story. So as the story begins, he's already begun to take a step into what was in the last issue, and we're getting a lot of, darkness in regards to what's happening here. Not only that, he's also being spoken to, and he's having some conversations with a number of the characters that are also created, not only by his imagination, but by some other people's imaginations. So as we move a little bit further, we have a older Danny meeting up with his younger self, and he's basically got his younger self telling himself off for some of the things that he did. And it looks like in some of the things that he's also abandoned parts of himself that he forgot to keep. As we finally move towards the end, we eventually move into the present day, to which we have the character of Danny getting also a little bit of closure in regards to his mother's death, and also visiting her grave. And it also looks like there might be a volume 2 coming out in regards to this particular series. So for the internal art, I give it an 8 out of 10. For the story, okay, first things first, do we get anything interesting time-wise? No, we don't. Location? No, we don't. The cast of characters, we had Danny, of course we had a young and also the older, and a character by the name of Sirius, as in like the star. For the overall story rating, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the Street Fighter one. So as we begin to move into the Street Fighter 6 Evolution Special, this has a key cast of characters, to which there's like 3 central stories, or 3 stories, but are written up as all sort of like one big story. So we get a beginning, say the first fight, the second fight, and then the third fight that happens in the story. And I'll be covering the stories all together as one story in its rating. So does this cover in any way, shape, or form connect to something that's happening inside with the story? Sure enough, it does, to which this is actually one of the characters that there's a fight against. I believe her name is called Aki. To which I give the cover an 8 out of 10. I'll now move to showing the internal art around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. So as we start to move towards the beginning of the story, we end up seeing Rashid finish off a bit of a fight with one of the Street Fighter characters, and then practically jumps into his next fight with the character of Aki. I think that is meant to be Dan on the left-hand side there. I might be incorrect. It's been ages since I played some Street Fighter. And as we start to jump towards the middle of the story, we have a fight between DJ and Cammy. And I must admit, I do quite like the art in this. And last but not least, we also have the character of Luke and who he's going up against. So, for the internal art, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. Does this story give us any indication in the area of time? No, it doesn't. Next is the area of locations, to which we have Cairo, Egypt, London, England, and Metro City, USA in Chinatown. The key cast of characters consisting of Rashid, Aki, DJ, Cammy, Junior, I think it is, or something like that, and the character of Luke. For the overall story rating, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.